Hey everybody, this is Chris DeFurio with Keys to the Shop. Welcome to another edition of Shift Break. I want to tell you really quick before we get started here that Coffee Fest is coming to New York City March 3rd through the 5th. I'm going to be there giving a bunch of lectures and talks, as well as judging latte art. I really hope to see you there. Coffee Fest is the best coffee trade show for the coffee retailer, and in my estimation, they have held that title for quite a long time. They have a lot of free lectures and classes, really affordably priced seminars, and they also have a great trade show floor. They're sharing it with a food show this year too. So those of you who have bakeries in your cafes and food in your cafes, this is an interesting show to go to in New York City because of this. It's running Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And I would encourage you to go to coffeefest.com and click on the New York City show and look at all of the classes, all of the competitions, the seminars and trainings. See which one is right for you and the situation that you're in with your cafe. I guarantee you're going to have something that fits in all of the tracks of education that they have going. And I've been going to Coffee Fest for many, many, many years, and I always love the value that I see people get from the trade shows. So go to coffeefest.com, and I hope to see you there in New York City. Now today I want to talk about the acceptance of dysfunction. That is a common thing that we find in cafes all over the world. Let me just get this out of the way right now. No cafe is perfect, and no cafe will ever be perfect. That said, it has to be stated that some fixable issues in the cafe are being neglected because people have learned to cope. So the story basically goes like this. You have a tool or a fixture or something that gets used every day, and it breaks. And it forces the baristas to improvise a solution. The baristas alert the managers, and the managers acknowledge the issue and look into it. And then for a lot of cafes, unfortunately, there's silence. And nothing really changes. The solution that the baristas kind of cobble together gets to be the permanent solution. It's a cafe held together by duct tape and toothpicks and bubble gum and things like that. And maybe the reason is that the manager is just overwhelmed and they just forgot. That happens. We're all human. That's understandable. The solution in that case is we have to have a system for checking in on these things. There has to be a plan, a calendar, or organizational system in place that allows those things not to fall through the cracks. And that's something that owners can help provide for management by checking in with them and making sure they're being taken care of so that they're not in a state of overwhelm. So there's that. And I know there's a ton of management out there that is in this category. And I don't expect people in leadership to remember everything. That would be superhuman. I'm certainly not in that category myself. But the other side of this thing is there are leaders in the cafe who look at the solution put together by the baristas, and then they see the acceptance that the baristas have of this solution as a sign that it doesn't need to be fixed anymore because they fixed it. It's an imperfect fix, but it works, and so we're just going to keep going with that, and you can point to a number of different things in the cafe where this is the case. If there's a 3-group espresso machine and one of the groups is down, at first, it really hampers workflow, but customers still seem to be happy, and the baristas, they may have been griping about it a little bit in the beginning, but now they've accepted it and they've come up with some solutions in terms of workflow to make it work with 2 group heads. And so for a lot of leaders, that's like the all clear sign to just forget about it and not prioritize that particular item. And I think that's a big mistake because you do that enough. You get a cafe that's just chock full of these situations, and the baristas look around and they say, you know what? The owners really don't care about this coffee shop. We're the ones that put together these solutions, and these are imperfect solutions, and we've just lowered our standards and our expectations of what management and leadership can do. And I'll tell you, that's not the kind of thing that you want staff to think about you as a leader or a manager. You want them to have confidence in your ability to solve problems. And if you can't solve the problem, which is often the case because of maybe resources or there's a lot of other things going on in the shop that need attention and that's just not a priority item, then it needs to be communicated to the staff to let them know the why and the how of the process of taking care of this. And I say it needs to be communicated to them because baristas make the cafe work. They're on the front lines and their world is behind the bar. So when things get off kilter, it really affects morale and the questions especially when business slows down and people are talking amongst themselves is, when is this going to get fixed? I don't know. I told the manager 2 weeks ago and no one ever said anything, so I guess we're just going to have to accept it. And then it kind of just sits there in the middle of the room like this big elephant and nobody wants to fix it. So we're just going to have to live with it. And many coffee shops do. This is a mistake. I think it's a mistake to, look at this situation of, nobody's complaining, so that means that I don't need to address it. If that's you, don't be fooled. Because in a scenario like that, where there's no communication about it, even if it's something that you can't control, even if it's something that you genuinely forgot because you were overwhelmed, whether it's fair or not fair, I think more often than not, the staff see apathy. And it colors the way that they see leadership's ability to not only manage the challenges of the functionality of the cafe, but it erodes their confidence in your ability to manage them and manage people and challenges that come up that are beyond just the way that a knockbox functions or a portafilter functions or whatever. So make sure that you provide staff with a solid communicative structure for when these problems come up. This is all about relationship. We work with each other to make this thing work. And you just can't abandon the staff to their own devices when these problems come up and then be happy when they seem to have forgotten about it. Because I'll tell you, they have not. It's just had a negative impact on their trust in your ability to lead. So the solution is basically to acknowledge what's happened, empathize with how much it sucks, and then communicate what the solutions are from that point forward. Thank them for fixing the problem in the moment if they've come up with a clever solution. And then follow up, let them know along the way what's happening, and then implement that solution and watch people's faces light up. This is part of management, it's part of leadership. Every cafe goes through this. Not every cafe, unfortunately, manages this well. So if you stay on top of those fixes and you stay in good communicative relationship with people in the midst of them, I think you're going to be that much farther ahead of the game. So I hope that this episode was helpful to you. This is definitely something I've experienced in my 20 years working in retail coffee, and I've been that barista who wonders, like, wow, I wonder if anybody even sees what we have to work with here. So this definitely hits home for me, and it's always a challenge to hold ourselves to this higher standard. So thanks again for joining me on the show today, and I will see you here next week for another edition of Shift Break, from Keys to the Shop.